We are halfway through the F1 season and we've got our F1 guru, Nate Saunders, here joining me. And we're going to find out the good, the bad, the ugly so far. We want you to rank. Everyone loves a good rank and a list. We're going to do the top 5 best and top 5 worst that you've seen so far. Let's start off with the best. We're going to go from 5th straight to 1st, who is the top, the creme de la creme so far for you. And at number 5, you've got Norris.
Yep. He's one of the 3 rookies this year, and I've been really impressed with him. You know, he's come into a team that is really improving. McLaren's had a few bad years. He's come in. He's been very, very good. Carlos Sainz, who we'll mention later, who we'll talk about later,
Spoiler
has also
alert.
been very good. Yeah, spoiler alert. But yeah, McLaren have just had a really good thing going for them this year. Real good feel-good factor about their drivers. Norris has come into F1. He's made a few little rookie mistakes, which you'd expect, but he's been so quick, especially in qualifying. He's been really impressive. Maybe needs to work on his racecraft a bit, but it's not a bad problem to have if you're a team boss and your rookie is already that good and you're just trying to, you know, manage the finer points. So he's been great.
In at number 4, you were kind of torn choosing
for
this one. Yes, you were indeed. I'll tell you, you did want to say Albon, but now you went with Ricciardo instead.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Ricciardo has moved away from a race-winning car, so it's very easy to forget about him. And the reason I was thinking Albon was because, you know, he's earned himself a promotion. But I think if you look at Danny Rick's season, he went into a new team. He was up against Nico Hülkenberg. There's jury out on how good Nico Hülkenberg is. I rate Nico Hülkenberg. Some people say he's been in the midfield for so long for a reason. But he's been at that team for a long time, and Ricciardo is winning that head-to-head quite comfortably. He's shown, I mean, he fought Bottas in Canada really well. So he's kind of made me regret that he made that decision last year, because it's nice seeing him when he's got a race-winning car, because he's just a great racer. He's good at overtaking, he's quick. And if Renault can get their act together, then with Danny Rick, they've got a winning package. And I think he's proved that in the 11 races so far.
We're into the top 3 now, and this is where if I could get up and slam my book down in protest if the mic wouldn't drop out, then I would. Because in at number 3, this man has Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. Top 3. That's not bad.
But at number 3, that's not what the board says.
Yeah, no, and let's be perfectly clear. Lewis has been great this year, and I think the reason I put him at number 3 is because of who I've got above him and the reasons behind them. Lewis has been great, and it's such a shame from a competitive standpoint that the best driver right now is in the best car, and that was always the case with Schumacher. It was probably the case as well with Senna, and it's a perfect storm for him, but it hasn't made the start of the season that entertaining. We obviously got some more entertaining races as we went on, but Lewis has just been great, and at the moment it's a matter of when he breaks all of Schumacher's records, not if. You know, we've gone past like will he. It's now what time next year will he beat the wins, and will he get to 7? I'm not sure whether he'll get to 8, but 7 championships looks pretty good right now.
Maybe then he will make the top of
then
your list.
If
right?
he does
Maybe
that,
then
he'll be number 1.
He'll make the top of your list. All right, let's move into number 2 now. You have Sainz.
Yeah, so Carlos Sainz is a guy who has really outperformed his car this year. You know, he's been in a midfield car, and Red Bull could have picked him last year instead of Gasly. And we all know now the Gasly decision didn't work well. And Sainz basically has shown them what a bad decision that was. He's been fantastic. I've tried to get the nickname Sunday Sainz going because Norris has been a bit better than him in qualifying. But on Sunday, Sainz is just like the man. You know, every race he seems to perform and get into a good position. So he's my number 2.
And remember, there can only be one, so your best driver so far is none other than Max Verstappen, the man who Lewis Hamilton himself said he's his only concern on his way to the F1 title this year.
Yeah, and you can see why. I mean, Max this year has just been unbelievable. You know, and if you're talking about who the heir apparent to Lewis is right now, people have talked about Leclerc. I know you were a bit miffed I hadn't got Leclerc in here.
Litty Leclerc.
But he made some mistakes, you know, through the year, and I feel like he could have done more with that Ferrari. Max has just been unbelievable, and right now it's scary that he's so young, and you think about how many races he could win, and we just talked about Lewis's records. You know, 10 years' time, where's Max going to be? So right now, I don't think there's a better driver in F1 on pure form, but if you put him and Lewis in the same car, that would be amazing to watch as well.
All right, let's now go to the ugly parts of this countdown, shall we? The worst. Of course, we're going to start from the least worst in your opinion to just the absolute shocker, which is quite interesting when we get there. In at number 5 for you, though, Kubica.
Yeah, so Robert Kubica didn't race for a very long time, and it was a really good feel-good story when he came back. He had life-threatening injuries in 2011, and he's gone to the worst team on the grid, and he's just been nowhere, you know, in his comparison to a rookie driver, who's a very good rookie driver, George Russell. He's just not been anywhere close to him, and really it's felt a bit like a wasted grid slot, which is a shame because he was such a good racer before his injury. But unfortunately, yeah, it's just not been that fun to watch. So, yeah, I think he's got to go down there.
Well, you touched on Gasly, of course, when we were talking about the best, and it has been ghastly for him, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why he comes in at number 4 for you.
Yeah, and he could have been higher on this, but I think he was a victim of circumstance a lot as well, you know, and I
Too
don't
much too
think
soon.
yeah, too much too soon. And I don't think he always got the fairest, you know, chance to compare against Verstappen. But yeah, he has to be on that list. I mean, you can't get demoted from 11 races and expect yourself not to be on this list. So I think I've been kind to him putting him 4. But the guys above him, I think you're going to be interested by the top ones, but I'll explain.
Exactly, because you have Giovinazzi in, and I suppose we can call it number 3, but I do want to like jump the gun now and go straight.
Well, Giovinazzi's
to
just been
number
bad.
1.
Giovinazzi just shouldn't be in F1 next year, I don't
And
think.
I want to go to, because you have Bottas and Vettel as your joint worst of the worst.
Yeah, this is where the comments start.
Never did I think Sebastian Vettel would be on somebody's worst of the worst.
So I'm going to explain this by both those guys have a championship winning car. They should, like, forget what you say about Ferrari, they should at least a race winning car, and neither of them have done what they should have done with it. Bottas started the year so well, and the last 5-6 races were so disappointing because he's just gone nowhere in the championship fight. And I think if you're in the top car, you should be judged most heavily. And if you're at the bottom car, I know Kubica down there, but that was an exception. You've got to be judged alongside your car, and Bottas just hasn't done what he needed to do. And Vettel, I think it's because he broke my heart in the predictions. You know, I said he'd win the championship, so maybe this is his punishment. But yeah, I think that those two, for what they should have done this year and the championship they could have given us in 2019, they've both failed. So I'm going to stick my flag in the ground and say those two guys were probably the most disappointing of the year. So that makes them the worst two for me.
The worst of the worst. Imagine that, Sebastian Vettel. He made it on his list. So there you have it, Nate Saunders, best of the best and the worst of the worst so far.